All right, so in the previous section, we went over all the characteristics and how to find them. So now we're going to do some examples. Okay. So again, in the previous, we wrote down all of these notes. So you might want to go back to that video or pause the video right now so you can copy this information down. All right, so these problems are asking us to find the y-intercept, the axis of symmetry, the x-coordinate of the vertex, domain and range, and then graph using a table. So let's start with our y-intercept. So remember, at a y-intercept, we know that our x value is 0. So we're going to substitute 0 in for all of the x's. Okay, so we have, so again, we're finding y-intercept to start with. So I'm going to plug 0 in for all the x's. Okay, so we're really finding y equals, and then negative 0 squared plus 6 times 0 minus 9. So all of these cancel, and we're left with y equals negative 9. Okay? So this is our y-intercept. All right, so the axis of symmetry, in order to find that, we have to know the x value of our vertex. So we're actually going to find our vertex next. So remember, to find our vertex, that's our h and k. And from our previous videos, we know that h is equal to the opposite of b over 2 times a. So when I'm looking at this, this is my standard form equation. The number in front of the squared term is always a, the number in front of x is b, and our constant is c. So we're going to take the opposite of the middle term, so negative 6, divided by 2 times, and then whatever the a value is. So a is negative 1, and then we're going to simplify. So this is negative 6 divided by negative 2, which will be positive 3. So that's the h value of our vertex. And then since we know that we're going to be graphing, we might as well find our k value right away. So to find k, we are evaluating, so we are doing f of 3. So that means I'm going to substitute 3 into all the x's, and then we're going to simplify. So we would have a negative 3 squared plus 6 times 3 minus 9. So 3 squared is 9, and then it's going to be negative from the negative in front, plus 18 minus 9. So negative 9 plus 18 will be 9, and then 9 minus 9 is 0. So that is the k value of our vertex. Okay, and then we need domain and range and to graph. So let's, and we have to list our axis of symmetry. So let's go back and list our axis of symmetry. So the AOS, axis of symmetry, is always x equals, and then whatever our h value is, which we found to be 3. Okay, so we have our y-intercept. We just listed our axis of symmetry. The x-coordinate of our vertex is 3, and then now we can do domain and range. So domain is all reals no matter what, and then our range depends on a. So since a is negative, that should tell us that our graph is going to open down. So we're going to need all of our y values that are smaller than or equal to our k, which is 0. And then we're going to switch that to interval notation. So that means we're coming from negative infinity to 0. So we would write it as negative infinity with a parenthesis, and then 0 with a bracket because we're including it. And then to graph, we're going to want to make a t-chart. So our vertex goes in the middle, so 3, 0. And then I'm just going to choose 2 and 4 for my x values. So now we're just substituting those into our equation and simplifying. So if we start with 2, 2 squared is 4, and then it would become negative. So do a little side work here. So we have negative 4, and then 6 times 2 is 12. And we still have minus 9. So if we combine, negative 4 plus 12 is 8, minus 9 is negative 1. And then we would do the same thing with 4. So 4 squared would be 16, and then it would become negative, so negative 16 plus, and then 6 times 4 would be 24, still minus 9. So if I take 24 and subtract 16 from it, that's still going to give us 8, and then 8 minus 9 is still negative 1. So now we should be able to graph, and again, when we graph, we would expect that our graph is going to open down. So when I do my graph here, and you can use graph paper for this, we only care about the positive x's, and then we're going to have negative y's including 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go right 2, down 1, and then right 3, and right 4, down 1. Again, we're going to connect it into that U shape. All right, so looking at this to kind of re-identify our answers, we have our y-intercept here. We have the x-coordinate of our vertex, the axis of symmetry. We have domain and range. We have our table and our graph. So all of those things that I just starred answers our question.